I mean, my name is, well, Matt, or call me Matty. I'm 39 years old. Yeah, I'm 39, and I have hidden disabilities, and it's Asperger's mild, and moderate learning difficulties is what it was described once upon a time. I'm from the area of Stoke-on-Trent, which is where I live, and I live together with my long-term partner. Yeah, so I mean, I went to, well, it was called at the time where I went to school. It was Abbey Hill, but it was called a special school. Although I did try at a primary school once a week when I was still at Abbey Hill, but that didn't work out. And then education-wise, I mean, I did a few GCSEs because Abbey Hill at the time were the first special school being introduced to taking them. I mean, I didn't get many, but I gave it a go. And my education then, because ever since from school, I've had an interest in performing arts. And oh, I remember my first big performance was before, I went on to education, to college, and all that sort of stuff. I did a musical line of arts called Blitz. I was 16. It was on a it was like done in 3 weeks. It was a big production, and that was you know the felt like it was the biggest thing I did at the time. And then when it came to, I did try further education. I stayed on school to school for an extra year. So it was 17 when I left because I was at the time I didn't think I was sure what to do. And then finding out about performing arts courses became an interest. And education wise, I went on to Bursum College, but obviously because I didn't have any A levels, because that never happened, and not many GCSEs. I started from the bottom. There was the Foundation Performing Arts course, and then I did my BTEC first diploma in performing arts, and I felt like that's when dance and movements, contemporary wise, came into play for me being more of an interest to that. And then I did my BTEC National Diploma in Performing Arts, which was a 2-year course. Um, I mean, I'd like to believe I did well. I did struggle once or twice. On the Foundation Performing Arts course, there was a support worker who would have been in there for everybody, at the time. I did have like, while the lecturers were in like a mentor role, so I could have a bit more one-to-one, with anything that I needed, help on or extra work. I think that transitioned in the BTEC National Diploma in Performing Arts as well, which was a 2-year course. I did go to Stafford College to do my HND, which is Higher National Diploma in Performing Arts, but it was more theatre. It was like in brackets theatre. After that, I did try to get my degree, which was BA honours in performing. I think it was drama, theatre arts. So the titles escaped me all of a sudden. I did try, my best to get my degree, but then I just kept essay failing, and I no matter how much I wrote them out, did the work twice, it just wasn't happening. And there was support in place. I had a mentor through the university, who I'd meet up with once or twice a week about the essay questions I was going to try and respond to. And before we had smartphones, we had dictation machines, I had one of those so I could record any of the lectures I had, but it was sitting down to listening if anything made sense, or just to me, or it was having the motivation because when you're obsessed on something, if you've got that focus to sit down as well at the same time to listen back to what's been said. But it was all there. And although I did fail at getting my degree, I could have graduated without honours to make things a bit easier, but it just didn't work. Just didn't work out, unfortunately. But I didn't come away empty-handed as such, because the practical work I was I was great at. Good at, because I did get the credits they award for that, and that's as far as I got. Before I got the support in that, I just thought they did a dyslexia test as well. they say you're not dyslexic, but you've got Asperger's. I thought, well, I could have told you that. You know, because it was called mild autism back then. And the thing is, like the labels change. You know, it's one then the other. But like you say, as well as volunteering, what I do for you, Reach Assist when I can, you know, when I'm, because I was it before lockdown, I was classed as a community advocate volunteer. That's right. I'm just trying to remember if that's my title at the time. So obviously, I know I've done numerous things like, you know, community outreach, but also the other voluntary stuff I have done is, I mean, as long as I can remember, I was 20, maybe 20s, mid 20s, when I started volunteering with the Mass Theatre Group. You know, the Mass Theatre Group, which is based at Blurton, and where I'm as well as being in the performances, you know, the drama performances that they put on, you know, every year. I'm also with the participants and members who attend, with training. Say if they're on stage with me, for example, in one scene, I'm there supporting them on stage if it's required. So, you know, as well as say we in the wings backstage, it's like, oh, who's in my scene with? Oh, it's you know, this, and making sure that they're ready to enter on if it was ever needed. You know, I think with front, I mean, I've been with frontline dance for as long as I can remember. I was 19 when I started. I then transitioned a few years later on a voluntary basis, where say in Breakthrough Adult, for example, where I'd be helping and supporting the workshop lead. My first bit of pay, before I talk about becoming a pay-as-you-earn employee for Frontline Dance, I did my first bit of committed paid work a long while before that, in 2013, where I became an SP, well, a simulated patient, which is at it's through Keele University, but with the work I do as an SP is based in the Clinical Education Centre in Stoke-on-Trent, and I got into that through the Mass Theatre Group that I volunteer for, you know, at the time. So that just shows me, you know, if you're in a voluntary position, that things like that can happen. But with what I do with the pay-as-you-earn work that I do more frequently with Rachel, you know, with Frontline Dance, is, you know, a couple of times in the week, you know, on a Monday for an hour or an hour and a half, I assisting and supporting the workshop leads in the Breakthrough Youth Dance Group, and then on Thursday there's a program called Transcend where I'm in that session. My role in that is I'm a support worker, and you know, helping out the participants who are there to learn, you know, various skills. So, you know, like when working out in the community, say for example, you know, when representing Frontline Dance at Appetite, you know, well, the Frontline Arts Festival, as it's known under the umbrella of Frontline, and also the Breakthrough Adult Group I used to be part of as a member before I became a volunteer. That's a paid, you know, for that 2 hours. Well, it's an hour and a half, but I'm there. I start before the session is, so you know, it's 2 hours by the time I'm finished. And that's when I used to be there as a member, went on to transition to voluntary, and then to actually get paid for doing the work as well. I know I receive benefits because I'm not, you know, I'm entitled to, but I'd like to, you know, I'd like to believe I could do more than that. You know, to actually go do a job, you know, that especially it's important if it's a job you enjoy doing and that you get paid for. And I'd like to believe it's made a difference in my life, because it's like, well, you know, this is my it's like it's a bit more independent, I would say, if you're able to do that. My biggest proudest moments was, well, one was where, although I didn't get my degree, I would say getting to university stage was a big achievement at the time. Although it didn't work out, I can just say I did it. I got there. It passed my driving test. That was one big thing that I always wanted to achieve, and I managed to do it. The biggest achievement before I got the pay-to-earn work with frontline dance was when for simulated patient work. So, and I'm glad I did that because it made me feel like, oh, I'm doing something that is important and it'll help others. This helps other people out to achieve their own education and what they need to work on, especially because the SP work I do, the scenario I have, if for someone with a disability, whether it's Asperger's or learning, it's about that they see me as that person as a patient, because I go with a carer. It's like, are they addressing me, or it's about where they can tweak what they need to work on. And from what the feedback over the years I know is it has helped. So as well as getting paid for that, it's making a positive outcome and a change on those third-year medical students who go on to whatever areas they want to in the medical career. And and the biggest achievement was when before lockdown, because that's when the pay-as-you-earn work started to develop and work with from frontline dance with Rachel Lyons, when Transcend started in 2020, where I was going to be developing as a support worker, and in that role, I would say, that's a big achievement, because with the participants that we have, I'm helping them to achieve whatever, because they list a goal that they have, and it's me having hope and in a positive way. I'm giving a helping hand for them to get there and achieve that, whatever it may be.